If you see a soldier on your street tonight, don't wave. Don't ask questions. Don't even look for too long. Pretend you're asleep, like the rest of us. That's what Mom told me, even though I'm 20 and supposed to be the one protecting her now. Before all of this, I used to joke that the world would end with a whimper, not a bang. But the first curfew came with sirens and soldiers, and after that, everything changed fast. We live in a regular suburb outside St. Louis. White fences, basketball hoops over the garage, dads mowing lawns in cargo shorts. That first Monday, an army truck rolled past my friend Caleb's house, flattening his recycling bins. Soldiers started blocking off every road out of our neighborhood. For your safety, they kept saying, faces hidden behind mirrored visors. One of them saw me watching from my bedroom window and shouted something I couldn't make out. I ducked back and turned off the lights. I was sweating so hard, I thought I might pass out. "Get away from there," Mom hissed, yanking me away from the glass. My little sister Zoe was already hiding in the hallway, clutching her backpack. She wouldn't tell me what was in it. Probably every stuffed animal she owns. "It's just a drill," I lied. But nobody believed that, not even me. Phones started dying the next day. Not just dying, going black. Like someone pulled the plug on the whole world. First, the Wi-Fi flickered, then the cellular towers were down. We couldn't call Dad, who was stuck at the hospital downtown. Couldn't check the news. All we got was that emergency broadcast tone, over and over, then static. Caleb's mom went door to door, trying to keep everyone calm. She's a teacher, so people listened, but she was just as scared as the rest of us. We tried to act normal, but the grocery store was out of everything by noon. Drones started flying low overhead, buzzing so loud you couldn't even hear yourself think. People whispered about containment. It got worse. I watched out my window. Yeah, I know, I never learn. And saw a man I'd never met walking down the middle of the street, like nothing was wrong. He wore pajamas and flip-flops. He just kept screaming. One long, ragged sound. Nobody helped him. Not the neighbors, not the soldiers. Two of them grabbed him, wrestled him to the ground, and threw a tarp over his head. I turned away, and that was the first time I realized I was shaking. That's when I understood that safety doesn't bleed, but whatever this was, it did. I heard Mom crying in her room that night. I didn't know what to say. We stopped obeying. The whole block went dark after sunset, but not because we were following orders. We covered our windows with trash bags and duct tape so nobody could see if the lights were on. Caleb taught me how to smash the surveillance cameras the soldiers installed on the street lights. I hated how good it felt to destroy something. I started sleeping with a baseball bat. We whispered plans at night, voices barely louder than the hum of the fridge. Yichka. Zoe wanted to fight too, but she's just a kid. Caleb's dad brought over an old hunting rifle and said, "Don't point it at anything you don't want to kill." I thought about asking what exactly we were supposed to be protecting ourselves from, but he just shook his head. "If you see this," he said, "run." He wouldn't say what this meant. Nobody did. The rules didn't make sense anymore. But everyone knew the most important one: never open the door after dark. Not for anyone. Not even if they sound like someone you love. If you want the truth, nobody ever said the word zombie. Not on TV, not from the army, not even on those flyers they dropped from helicopters, the ones that said things like remain calm and report all suspicious activity. But the first night we heard the noises, everyone understood anyway. It started right after midnight. First banging on doors, not just knocking, pounding, desperate, wild, then screaming. Some of it normal, some of it so weird and guttural you knew it wasn't right. The worst part? Only some people screamed. The others went quiet. That silence was the scariest sound I've ever heard in my life. We'd barricaded the front door with a dresser, but it rattled like it was about to come off the hinges. Zoe hid under the dining table, her hands pressed to her ears, and Mom just kept whispering prayers into her fists. I held the baseball bat and told myself that if something broke through, I'd swing. But my hands were slick with sweat, and the bat felt like it weighed 100 pounds. Across the street, Caleb's house went dark, 2 shadows in the window, then nothing. I thought I heard him yell, but it could have been anyone, or anything. By morning there were more soldiers, but their uniforms were different, dirtier, more armored. And they didn't talk to us anymore. They just pointed their guns and waved us away from the windows. It didn't matter. We were already planning how to get out. Caleb made it to our place just before sundown. He looked half dead, his face covered in scratches, clothes torn up like he'd run through a thicket. He said his dad was gone, his house was trashed, and something was living in the crawl space now. It waits until after midnight, he said. Don't fall asleep. That was the first night we tried the sewers. You think it's just a movie thing, but when you're out of options, you'll crawl through anything. Caleb pried open a storm drain, and the 4 of us squeezed through. Me, Mom, Zoe, and him. It smelled like rot and old bleach. Pitch black. We moved slow, flashlights taped over so the beam wouldn't give us away. Rats scurried ahead, but nothing bothered us until the second turn. That's when I saw it. Someone or something crouched at the end of the tunnel, whispering in the dark. I yanked Zoe behind me. It didn't chase us, just stared. But the way it tilted its head, like it was listening for a secret only we could hear, made my blood run cold. We made it out near the old subway lines, abandoned for years. There were more people there, survivors, I guess, but nobody looked each other in the eye. Some were bleeding, some just sat and rocked. A woman with no shoes and blood on her face was muttering, "Don't let them talk. Don't listen." She had a bite mark on her neck, but it didn't look like any dog bite I'd ever seen. Too neat, too human. That's where I saw her. My sister, or at least I thought it was her. She died when I was 15. Car crash. But she was standing there, alive and older, calling my name like she'd just gotten out of bed. "Hey, come here," she said, all casual like this was normal. Mom fainted on the spot. Caleb grabbed my arm so hard it hurt. I almost believed it. But then she smiled, and it was all wrong. Too wide, too calm. I remembered the warning, "If you see this, run." I did. The nightmares got worse. Sometimes I'd wake up and forget what was real. Sometimes Caleb would stare at me, mouth open, like he was trying to remember something important. Then he'd blink and smile too big. One night, Mom called me by the wrong name and didn't even notice. People didn't need to bite you, they just had to talk to you, to get inside your head. That was the infection nobody warned us about. If they got your name, your memories, they could take your place. I think that's what happened to my dad, or maybe I'm just losing it. Either way, if you see someone you love at night, don't listen. Don't answer. Run. We stopped pretending after that. There was nothing left to pretend about. We weren't hiding from soldiers or even monsters anymore. We were hiding from ourselves, what we might become, who we might forget. The whole city was on fire by the time we crawled out of the tunnels, but nobody was fighting for the old world, just for each other. That's how the revolt started. Caleb was the first to snap. He found a radio, an old shortwave thing that still picked up signals, and started broadcasting messages into the night. Warnings, names of survivors, directions to safe spots. We found other groups, people just as desperate as us, and one by one they started pushing back. Someone firebombed a checkpoint at the edge of the school football field. Someone else broke open a military van and pulled out 3 prisoners, just kids, but you could tell they'd seen too much. We didn't know who started the fight, but we joined in without thinking. There was nothing left to lose. I wish I could say we all made it out, but that's not how stories like this work. When the barricade at the hardware store finally fell, I saw Zoe run back inside for her backpack. Mom tried to stop her. I never saw them again. Caleb lost his little brother that night. Some people say he got out, others say he turned. The truth doesn't matter. What matters is that we kept going. We got the truth out. That's what everyone remembers. We hijacked a drone, broadcasted footage of the soldiers dragging people away, showed the world the things living under our city. For a second, it felt like hope. For a second, we thought maybe someone out there would come help us. But mostly we heard gunfire, and more screaming, and then the signal cut out. Someone somewhere must have heard. It just wasn't enough to change what happened here. The last night we made it to the roof of the old library. The city was burning below us. The air tasted like smoke and metal. People started gathering, not out of fear, but because there was nowhere else left to go. Caleb looked at me, face smudged with ash, and said, "You're in charge now." I laughed, but nobody else did. I wanted to say something brave, something leader-like, but all that came out was, "If you see this, run." Maybe that's what leadership is now, warning people before it's too late. Maybe we're all just waiting for someone to tell us it's safe to stop running. The city is different now. Survivors are harder, smarter, more together, but scarred in ways you can't see. And now it's my turn to keep them safe. My turn to keep running, even if there's nowhere left to run to.